Thank you for joining us today on 9 News at Noon. I'm Erica Lopez. We start with breaking news. The verdict for the Denver doctor accused of drugging nearly a dozen women while on dates is in. Stephen Matthews is guilty on 35 of 38 charges. Joining us live this noon is 9 News investigative reporter Jeremy Hohola with the latest from the courthouse. Hello, Jeremy.
Hi, good afternoon. Yes, after a month of very heavy testimony inside this Denver courthouse, the jury has convicted Stephen Matthews, a cardiologist here in the Denver metro area. Here's how the first part of that verdict played out.
Jury verdict, count 1. It is Roman numeral 2. We, the jury, find the defendant, Stephen Matthews, guilty of, choose only one. It is sexual assault incapable of appraising nature of conduct.
35 of the 38 charges have resulted with a guilty verdict. It is clear the jury felt Stephen Matthews drugged and raped multiple women in this case, which involved 11 named victims. Now, during the reading of the verdict, Matthews appeared to become very emotional. I also saw many of the victims in the courtroom in the front rows of the pews crying as the verdict came down. This was quite the disturbing case that played out in this courthouse over the past 4 weeks with around 60 witnesses. Women shared stories of how they would meet Matthews on dating apps. They would go back to his house. He would offer them tequila shots. Then they would lose their memory. Some of the women woke up with bite marks and bruises on their body. The women also shared text messages showing that they communicated with friends and family, indicating that they felt something bad really happened to them. Again, Matthews found guilty of 35 of 38 counts. He'll be sentenced in September. Each of these counts carries multiple years in prison, so it's very likely that Stephen Matthews will likely be spending most of his life in the Department of Corrections. Live in downtown Denver, Jeremy Hohola, 9 News.
Jeremy, really appreciate your reporting. We know you'll have a lot more on this later today on 9 News at 4 o'clock. Thank you. It was a beautiful sunrise this morning, but then some fog covered downtown, and you can still feel the humidity today. The calm, though, that we're experiencing now is expected to make way for some storms that could be severe and bring hail. Yeah. We have our weather impact team meteorologist Keely Chalmers with us this noon to kind of break down what we can expect today, because we really have to be careful for those afternoon storms.
Yeah, we are certainly expecting some active weather across the state, certainly across the plains. We talked about that flood watch already in effect for the Front Range. So again, strong storms moving through, producing with the potential to produce heavy downpours, 1 to 2 inches of rain per hour, especially over those burn areas. Could lead to some flash flooding, as well as some 1-inch hail, potential damaging winds out across the eastern plains. We'll talk about that in just a second. We are getting some sunshine out there, and that's going to help with that afternoon heating. Current temperatures were already up there in the 80s here in the metro area. 81 in Denver, 80 in Greeley, 83 in Fort Collins. Your forecast for the metro area today, again, we are in this looking at afternoon storms rumbling through once again. Partly sunny. Those storms arriving between about 3 and 7 o'clock across the urban corridor. Temperatures increasing to about 87 degrees. We're looking at 80s and 90s across the plains today. And again, we continue to track those showers and storms already firing up across the high country. All that activity will gradually push off to the east. There is that flood watch once again, and I mentioned 1 to 2 inches of rain per hour associated with those storms moving through, especially over the burn areas. We'll break down the timeline of when you can expect those storms here in the metro area coming up in your full forecast in just a bit.
Keely, thank you. It is eviction day for dozens of Aurora residents. Their apartment building was closed because it was uninhabitable, and today they're being forced out of their homes. Police officers were even going door to door. 9 News reporter Brianna Fernandez was there during the process.
So we know early this morning around 75 to 80 families had to leave this building and pack up their belongings. Right now what we're seeing along Nome just off East Colfax is a lot of trash that was left behind from all of these families that had to leave this apartment building. You're also seeing Aurora Police Department here on scene blocking off this intersection with yellow tape. So tenants and community advocates, they begged the city for 9 more days to find housing, but city officials said that was not happening. Aurora city officials say the entire apartment complex is the result of years of dangerous code violations and issues with the property management. They say that the city has tried to hold the out-of-state property owner, CBZ Management, accountable for poor living conditions for 2 years now. Some conservative leaders on city council claim that the real issue is the building near Colfax and Nome is under the control of a Venezuelan gang, and the city strongly denies that, and Mayor Mike Hoffman says the apartment is not under the control of a gang. So officials say that they've offered tenants hotel vouchers through the end of the month. Once tenants secure new housing, the city will pay for their security deposits, and then that money is coming from the city's housing fund.
We have been working on this property with the residents, with advocacy groups for over 2 years to hold the property owners accountable. And at this point, it is not a safe place to be, and so that is not an option, but we would much rather folks be, again, in a hotel room that's clean and safe for them to be in while they work through finding another place to live.
Aurora city officials say that early this morning they shut off the water at this apartment building that you see over my shoulder, and we know contractors are expected to board up this building as well. For now, I'm in Aurora. Brianna Fernandez for 9 News.
Brianna, thank you. Investigators looking into this weekend's violence in Commerce City think the shooting near the Paradise Pool was a father's act of retaliation. The man accused, Lumumba Sayer, was a well-known anti-violence advocate and former MMA fighter. Sayer's son was murdered a year ago this month in the area of 28th and Welton. Court documents say the person who did it was a friend of Saturday's victim, Malcolm Watson. Watson's sister told 9 News that her brother, seen here, was not involved in the death of Sayer's son. No one has been convicted in his death. Sayer is due back in court on Thursday. Former Mesa County Clerk Tina Peters, a known election denier, is now a convicted felon. A jury convicted the former Republican clerk on 7 charges for leading the security breach of her county's election computers in 2021. As Marshall Zellinger reports, jurors only took a matter of hours to make their decision.
Do you want to talk about the verdict?
I'll have remarks later. Thank you.
Protected by about a dozen people, now convicted Republican former Mesa County Clerk Tina Peters left court this evening after she was found guilty on 7 of 10 counts from a 2021 security breach of her election equipment.
We, the jury, find the defendant Tina Peters guilty of count number 1, attempt to influence a public servant.
That was the first of 7 guilty verdicts for Peters, 4 of them felonies. They all come with different sentence guidelines. 3 of them have 2 to 6 year sentences. In all, she could face between almost 8 to 22 years in prison. The jury found Peters not guilty on 3 counts, including identity theft and criminal impersonation of Jerry Wood.
The ones that she was found not guilty on were the ones that related directly to me. That was a little disappointing.
Wood, a software engineer, agreed to do IT consulting for Peters. He testified against her in the trial. It was his name, background check, and access badge that was used to help someone else make a copy of an election computer hard drive. The jury either did not believe his story that he was not involved, or the defense gave enough doubt.
Personally, as far as it referred to me, I didn't feel like it was justice, but I think that it's satisfying to see that she was found guilty on counts that she'll have to pay for that. Yeah.
Peters is free for now. She will be sentenced in early October.
According to what came out in this trial, it was not about finding out the truth for the elections. It was about people pursuing their slice of fame.
That was Marshall Zellinger reporting.